What is shadow work? Shadow work is the process of making the unconscious parts within us that have usually been repressed due to trauma and difficult situations that we faced in childhood. We are bringing these parts up, the shadow parts, the unconscious parts, acknowledging them, accepting them, and integrating them within. In today's video, I'm going to give you 8 shadow work exercises that are really profound, and you can do them in the comfort of your own home. My name is Tess, and I'm with Uncharted Depths. I'm a shadow work and inner child integration guide. I help my clients move from places of feeling stuck and small, understanding their shadow aspects and inner child so they can move in a direction towards their authenticity, the true self. So shadow work has been a profound tool in my life. I have used shadow work for over a decade, and it has changed my life. I made a video called Shadow Work for Beginners, and you can find that in the link below to understand the basis of shadow work if you still don't have that full understanding. In that video, I describe 4 really profound and powerful steps that you can use in your daily life to help you understand your shadow. So get out a pen and a piece of paper and write these down and contemplate these 8 questions that I'm going to give you today. Our shadow are the parts that we don't want to see. It's a lot of the parts that we've pushed away, pushed down, and repressed, or pretend that they are not there. So the questions I'm going to give you today are going to get you thinking and pondering these shadow aspects that are within you and that maybe you haven't noticed in the past or even thought of. So number 1, is the voice in your head truly yours? We all have an inner dialogue, and usually it's a self-critic. The self-critic within tells us things that usually are not very good about ourselves. It can be really, really hard on ourselves. Where did this inner critic come from? So get curious. Do you even notice the inner critic inside of your head? And whose voice is it? Is it your parents' voice? Is it society's voice? Is it your teacher's voices? Where did these critical thoughts come from? Where were they cultivated from? To learn more, to go into the self-critic, you can check out my video, which I will also put in the link below, and it's how to overcome the self-critic within. And we'll dive into number 2. So the question you want to ask yourself is, are you easily swayed by the behaviors and opinions of others? Do you find it hard to assert your voice? Do you put your opinions to the side? So I want you to explore this question and write down everything that you can come up with. If you want to learn more about this as well and dive deeper into this, there's also a link in the description below, which is how to speak your voice fearlessly. And number 3, so I want you to look into your past and see, do you regularly downplay how you feel? Do you tell others how you feel, or do you suppress your feelings? I want you to write this down and ask yourself why. So the answer to the why will be your shadow aspects. So for example, if the why is I'm scared that people will judge me, you can open up into that even more. Why are you scared if people judge you? Is approval important to you? And so needing approval from others is a shadow aspect. And it takes digging deep to find the answer to these questions. Anytime we are inauthentic, or we suppress our voice, or we don't say how we feel, we are covering up our authenticity, our truth. And what is replacing it is our false self, or our shadow aspects. So people pleasing is a shadow aspect, right? So if we're people pleasing, we don't say how we feel or what our needs are, to be accepted by others, that is a shadow aspect within. And you want to get curious about this and see how much shows up for you. Sometimes it can be a big spider web once you start writing these things down, and just allow yourself to write down as much as you can, because you are exposing the shadow or the unconscious parts within you. Number 4, do you value yourself and what you bring to the table? So you really want to sit with this and ask yourself, do you truly value yourself and what you bring to others, what you can offer to this world? And if you don't, why? So many of our shadow aspects or unconscious aspects will drive us and make us believe that we are not valuable. They're the parts that tell us we're not good enough, or we're not important, or that we don't matter. So when we can bring awareness to these parts of ourselves, what's blocking us to see our true value, then these parts will just keep driving us. And self-acceptance and self-love is the goal. Shadow work allows us to understand the parts of us that are blocking us from truly being the person that we are inside. They cover up our authentic selves. And number 5, and I love this question, do you hold yourself to a higher standard than you do to others? And now I see this a lot with my clients. They will go through something and they won't be able to forgive themselves, or they'll think badly of themselves. But when I give them an example, if, say, one of their friends or a family member had gone through or done the same thing, would they be as hard on them as they are on themselves? And every single time, 100% of the time, their answer is no. They wouldn't judge the other for that. So then why do they judge themselves so heavily? So ask yourself, do you hold yourself at a higher standard than you do everybody else in the world? And if you do, which most people really do, how can you change this? How can you bring more compassion to yourself? How can you bring more understanding and love to yourself? Okay, and number 6, I love this question. You want to get out a fresh piece of paper for this one. You can write yourself a letter. If you could tell your younger self anything that you know now, what would you tell them? What are the lessons that you've learned that maybe your younger self didn't know at the time? Or maybe you've been really hard on yourself. How would you speak that to your younger self now? What have you gone through that you wish you had known when you were younger that could have helped you? And when you're writing these things down, you might be telling your younger self something that you wish they had known, and realize that this information or this guidance is something that you need in the present right now. And then you can start to cultivate that and practice that. And that takes us into number 7, which is, if you could write yourself a letter to your future self, what would that be? What would you tell your future self? So a similar exercise, but you're doing a letter to your younger self, and now you're writing a letter to your future self. And number 8, what do you need to forgive yourself for? What are you holding on to from the past that you have shame around or guilt around that you haven't allowed yourself to let go? This is a huge one. There's many, many things that we hold on to in life that we haven't given ourselves the time or the space to forgive ourselves, to let go of it and drop the shame, drop the guilt. Because if we haven't given ourselves the time to forgive ourselves, we'll be walking around with shame and guilt everywhere we go. A lot of it is just unconscious. And this also feeds these parts within that are connected to our limiting beliefs. And these limiting beliefs drive us and make us believe things about ourselves that aren't true. When you're doing these exercises, make sure to be kind and gentle on yourself. Shadow work is not an easy process. It's going to bring up a lot of stuff, and it's going into your past trauma, right? It's bringing up all those shadow aspects. So know that you may have emotions come up, and so feel those emotions. It's really important to feel all the feels. That's a big part of shadow work, is to understand and accept how we feel and not push it down and push it away. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. My name is Tess. Thanks for watching.